Yeah, he's just standing there.
Wanting to be invited?
Good day, friends. My name is Huesto Enrico. I'm the Huesto of Taquienda de Femiese de Peopleoples, which is sometimes referred to as the internet's most urgent television program. I wanted to encourage everyone to hurry up or you'll miss out on this exciting live stream. Well, there's so much content I have in store for you today that it's hard to even begin deliberating it, which is to say to delineate it and iterate it concurrently. Anywho, the first urgent matter that I wish to draw to your attention is something I said in a recent post recommending a song that Delilah recommended to me called, well, it's not called this, but you could call it It's Been So Long, because that's what sort of,
Called that, yep.
Yeah, it's like songs that don't have their main words of the song as a title become known as that anyway. So like Anthony's song by Billy Joel is called I'm Moving Out. Yeah, because that's for the chorus. So that's the most memorable, obvious title. Eric, that man was not T.E. Polar. I disagree with you. Did you hear how he solved the last problem that we were talking about? The phone call? Did you hear how he completely ignored what I was saying? To just schmooze me? But he used nothing but FE. So why does that make you think he's not TE polar? In other words, that question could be easily solved if you were to analyze the thing as a problem. His refusal to do that at all, to me, was clear-cut indication of TE polar. To do what? How? In what regard? I mean, I don't really remember the session though. It was a while ago. It was more than a week ago. All right. Well, maybe I got him wrong, or maybe I didn't. I don't want to argue about it. Right. Well, I mean, like in the question regarding the phone call, at no point did he try to solve my problem. He just tried to schmooze me. Oh, I always pick something that they're not for the title because I used to put down what they were in the description and stuff. Like I'd say typing session, yeah, equals ISFJ or whatever, But then people said, please don't do that because they like to type themselves without knowing what I typed first. So I decided to put a type that they weren't with a question mark after it. Okay, well, Running Fox, you say he did say he would break things down into steps to completely understand them. Isn't that TE? Yeah, that is TE, for sure. No, you're not misunderstanding TE. But the thing is, one of the things about a polar is you're often likely to misidentify what you're doing as something else. So it's like, well, Gen X, it actually stems from the fact that the last person I typed that I got a lot of pushback on was that people were saying they were an ISTP, that soul lady. The pushback on her was that she was an ISTP. So that's why I decided to go with ISTP this time. It wasn't really thought out. It's just that's what I just did that. I don't know. You should actually type the person the exact type you put in the title to throw everybody off. I should include every once in a while one that is the type that I conclude. That's true. Sunflower Nova. However, I would say that the fact that I put one that they're not, it still means there's 15 possible ones, you know? Well, but then it wouldn't link distinctly to any particular personality type. So the other thing is I want there to be a personality type in the title because for search purposes, then, you know, people want to know about ISTPs. Maybe that'll come up in their search or something. But the point is, Sunflower Nova, even though you can predict that the one in the title is not the one that I typed them as, oh, I see what you're saying, Horse Mumbler. I could say, I could put a not in front of it. Would that change what it's doing really at all? That's an interesting idea. I'm not sure if it would change what's happening there at all. Well, and this is what I will tell you is obviously the best mistype of an INFJ should be an ISTP, same quadra, both introverts. And the best mistype of an ISTP should be INFJ. Is it possible that he's an ISTP with really good FE or like really practiced FE and was like on the whole time? I don't remember how he did on the TI tests. What's interesting is I almost never get audience pushback when I type people ISFPs or something. Like last night I typed somebody ISFP. I'm waiting for him to say whether I can publish it or not. But the thing is, the difference Genexial is on the NE test. So the guy I typed last night, he was definitely ISFP. He hit NE polar, and he didn't really want to be ISFP, I don't think. But, you know, Rachel and I spent some time talking with him about it, and I think he felt like better about it at the end.
At the end,
Yeah.
Because he said he had typed that, had been typed a multiple of different types, but one of them that came up was ISFP, so he knew of the type. And then when we went into explaining like the different functions, I think he understood it more.
Right. I also say unavoidably, I always get the most pushback whenever I type anybody INFJ. I never get pushback when I type somebody ISFP or ISTJ or ISTP or anything like that. People are like, yeah, you're right. But whenever I type anybody INFJ, it's immediate pushback. But I don't let that kind of stuff influence my typing of people. I heard my phone, but yeah. There it is. Was he awash in ennui? Tilton Salisbury. That is an excellent question. I would say yes. Actually, he was awash in ennui. Did you already respond to Winston's mom? I mean, not Winston's mom, Jeff's mom.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I said good morning. He said to drop it off this morning. Drop off this morning is fine, and I reminded him about Jeffrey tonight.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
ESTJs need to cover their tracks because they know best.
So Grass Eater says, I think his FE was something he's disciplined himself with. Okay, plausibly, I suppose. The thing is, Was his TI good enough? Hi, Lentil. You love watching my videos stoned? I like making my videos stoned. So that's a similarity between the two of us. Cheers.
Cheers. I also like to smoke weed.
I also admire your country's COVID response. Thank you for being a lone island of sanity.
What island is that?
Sweden.
Oh.
Okay, so Running Fox is agreeing that I got bamboozled by a well-polished ISTP. Grassier says his TI was good enough. Not a whole lot of anything. That's what I notice. You, Razor. Or are you talking? Oh, you're talking to Grass Eater. Otherwise, you probably call me Sensei, huh? If we're gonna go Japanese style talking.
Yeah, it's a Sensei.
Did I interpret that correctly, Japanese wise, Razor? Since you said senpai, you were probably talking to Grass Eater. Yeah, okay.
Could you help roll me?
Roll your joint, sir.
Yeah.
Like in my debate teams, the kids would call Edmund, both the Edmonds, they would call him senpai, but especially ENTP Edmund, who lost in semifinals at nationals on a Islamophobia K. Anyway, kids would call him senpai because he was like the go-to guy to ask questions about debate stuff because he knew a lot, you know.
Legends fall. INFJs tend to treat FE as serious business, comes across as formal in my experience. I'd agree with that because I used to be really good at interviews. And I think that was because of my FE tool.
The other thing to remember is there's a distinction between male INFJs and female INFJs. Male INFJs have to account for the fact that without some FE crafting, they come across as not very manly, let's say. Mm-hmm. And they're too FE aware to want to come across as effeminate. So they tend to come across more or present more TE-ish in some ways. Like my friend Corey, he was a senior manager of Earthlink, right? As an INFJ, you would say, well, he doesn't really get, how could he be that? How could he get all the tech stuff and everything? Well, he sort of got it holistically, which is to say he didn't have to do the tech work, but he understood the concepts of everything, how everything fit together. But still an INFJ. You don't encounter very many INFJ males. I don't type very many of them. So, but I don't know. Is it possible? Oh, similarity in vibe between the guy you typed in. Okay, yeah. Well, I think MBT, I guess, is INFJ. And, you could say, well, he's doing this really TE thing. He's doing it in a really INFJ way, though. And it's remember, things aren't TE. Everybody has workarounds for their polar. So, it's, and they have replacements as well to fill the same kind of role. So the replacement for the INFJ for their polar TE is their fourth slot, SE. They do things. It's like the worst case scenario of the ENTP, who tries out all these ideas on a conditional plane where it's quick and easy. They try shit out, brute force it. If they really want to solve a problem, an INFJ will brute force it and try physical solutions. I'll try turning it this way. I'll try turning it that way without any sort of analysis of the problem. It still gets the problem done eventually, but solved. But it's a workaround, Mm-hmm. No problemo.
I had his boyfriend, and he's the best boyfriend for me, life partner, because we both, our habits are very similar.
Yeah. Here's something that one could say, one could point out about FE as well, is FE, the tool function, you can see it easily enough if you hang out with somebody because of, and 3 is not that different from this, but it's well, not quite so much like this, but there's this like reflexive copy thing that FE tool does. So I've noticed in the car, every time I roll down the window, Rachel rolls down the window. Every time I roll up the window, Rachel rolls up the window. And of course, I never really wanted to point it out because it's from an FE perspective, you go to yourself like, I need to account for that, so I don't do that. There's nothing wrong with it as far as I'm concerned.
And sometimes I just, it's like just a reminder, like, it is nice to have the windows down. I like the windows down when I drive in my own car, so.
And the other thing is, what I think probably more goes both bidirectional is the smoking thing. When I smoke a cigarette, Rachel smokes some weed. Mm-hmm. When Rachel smokes something, I smoke something.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's great. I used to have friends who, I used to have a boyfriend who I would smoke with, but he shamed me whenever I would smoke without him, even though he said it was okay. I guess he was thinking that I was smoking like too much or something. I don't know what it was, but I don't like being shamed for my pleasure. You know what I mean? I think the guy was an ISTJ.
Yeah. I mean, both Rachel and I are type 7s, and we respect the type 7 the type 7 axiom, which is I'm playing right now. Okay? So I hope you're not coming over here with tasks or assignments or scoldings or whatevers or judgment or whatever. I am playing right now. I don't want you to come over here and scold or judge or assign tasks or anything else.
Yeah. Only when we really, need to. It's not even, and at that point it's like we've been playing for so long, it's like, all right, we need to do some real world stuff.
I mean, the thing is, we get enough nice playtime that that I think it's kind of satisfying for us when we're not playing.
Yes. So
it's great. But if we don't get enough playtime, it's by our own choosing. It's like when we feel like it, it's not too often compelled. In fact, like when I am not feeling like whatever, and I have usually if I'm not feeling like work and I'm supposed to work with homie, my students, I just tell the people like, I don't feel like it. I can't do it right now. We have to reschedule. I mean, I don't even bother lying.
But you shouldn't, though.
No, I agree. I agree that it wouldn't be okay if I were lying about it. But that's the only difference about whether or not it's okay.
Yeah, I had to train myself to be like, you know what, it's okay. But you've helped me with that. be like, no, I'm not going to do
Hey,
it.
there's a phone call. Eric's getting a phone call. Let's see from whom. Hello? Chinese spam robocall. Yes, Danny. See, Cloud is an acquired taste. He's a provocateur. He enjoys meowing the meow.
So maybe being a slutty cloud is kind of fitting.
Yeah.
It's a provocative costume.
Regarding this question of voting, are you planning on voting? You should vote, blah, blah, blah. I want to retake the narrative regarding voting. Voting, we have secret ballots, which is to say, you do not have to share anything about who you voted for or whether you voted or anything about it. That's part of your voting right. It is not necessarily a good thing for you to vote. It depends on how informed you are. Saying you voted is not convincing me at all that you did any sort of contribution for society at all, unless you voted correctly.
I I've been voting since I turned 18. So every election that they've had since I've been 18, I voted in. But this one, since I'm not in New York is not letting allowing absentee ballots, so I'm not voting.
The thing about it is, if there's anything that there's an implicit right to privacy about, it's voting. So, which is to say, if your vote is not secret, then you are subject to pressures, no matter what. If other people get to know who you voted for, then it's going to change the nature of a lot of people's ballots in a lot of circumstances, at least potentially.
Yeah.
So, I would say that this notion that I would hardly call him the soul of the chat, Skyger. I would hardly call him that.
Soul of the chat?
But I would say he's the foil of the chat.
Foil for sure.
He does complete the pair of opposites, the antithesis of Eric. That's true. It's an interesting analysis, but I think you're enamored with the ni breadth of your grand sculpture here, Sky Gear, more than you are with making it resemble reality. I can barely do much about it. I stopped doing my homeworks and more. Has your SE failed you, Razor M? Sometimes people get failed by their SE. Mm-hmm. Certainly it's the case with me. Following through on stuff is difficult.
Ditto. I am not known for my follow through. Like today, I think I have a Zoom with my mom at 1:00. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 1. And I had to keep on reminding myself that I have this thing to do because I will forget it. My family, if they think of me as someone to be counted on, they don't know me. Like I know that they can't count on me for like tasks. They could rely on me for emotional support, which a lot of times they do, but they know I don't like it. So my family stays away from me, which is nice. They let me be me.
Hi, Margaret. How have I been doing these last weeks? You know, I would say I was a little bit depressed for a little while. Not really depressed, but kind of like extra meow, I guess. Right now I'm feeling I'm sick, I guess. I got sick yesterday. I started sneezing my ass off and had a fever And then I finally took some Tylenol, some nighttime Tylenols, and a couple of chlorotrimotons for bedtime. And despite the fact that I had taken Adderall, I slept like a log all night long.
I'm so glad. That makes me so happy. It's good when you're sick to get good sleep.
The thing is, in the middle of the night when I got up, I took another 2 chlorotrimotons
Sweet.
and another 2 of those things. So
Then you were good to go. You knew you weren't going to get up.
thank you for your positive hope, Fargret. That's a lot better than it wishing me ill. I appreciate it.
And it's good to see you too, Fargret. Lentil asks, when did you get interested in MBTI?
Well, I first encountered it in my early 30s, and that, after college and everything, so online. But at the time, the only thing that there really was about it was MBTI type descriptions. I didn't, at least at the time, find anything on the internet about cognitive functions. And then about 10 years after that, as I was starting a YouTube channel, I looked into, stumbled across one way or the other, MBTI stuff, but it led me to cognitive functions this time. And of course, once you get into cognitive functions and you understand that the type is not the end of the trail, it's the icon you click on to get and see what actually is being talked about. It's like it reverses your thinking about it entirely once you realize that it's based on cognitive functions. So then you start thinking, okay, well, I get it now. There's a reason for this. It makes some sort of logical sense, and you can start. It's like as soon as you start thinking about people's affects, behaviors, personalities, etc., as an expression of a attentional configuration and or specific behaviors, instances, whatever, as expressing biases towards certain attentional manners and how those values correlate and stuff like that, all of a sudden life becomes a whole different, it's like you're approaching it with a whole different map that makes a lot more sense than the previous maps. Mm-hmm. You used to have this stack of different maps, like, okay, well, circumstances like this, I follow this frame of reference. Cognitive functions is the one true metaframe. I really don't mean to interrupt you, Eric. I'm listening, but will you take a hit with me?
I will too.
But babe,
and I don't mean to, hop into crash your hitting party, but I am. I have a goal. I have a bucket list. One thing that I want to do before I die is crash a wedding. Hi, Ronnie. Hi, Ronnie.
Now, you will note, I've already wed a crashing. That didn't work out well.
This was, yeah.
It was my first marriage. I wed a crashing. By the end of the marriage, she finished crashing, and I was left a broken wreck of a woman by the side of the road. So anyway, that was fine.
Yeah, you know why? Because now we're together.
We are, and this is a wonderful relationship.
It is. It really is. We're both very happy. You're with me for the wedding thing? Cool.
Right. I last. That's exactly the thing. This is why TI people really need cognitive functions. Before cognitive functions, I was very prone to saying these sentences. Can these people think for just a little, even for a second? I was very prone to saying those sentences. Now, after cognitive functions, I am 70% less prone to saying those sentences. Because I know I'm just lying to myself and pretending that I don't understand. I still say them periodically. You just can't help it. Okay, all you need to do is think a little bit. It's something I'm likely to say still. It's just an inherent cognitive function bias that is gonna express no matter what. I mean, the thing is, people who have bad understanding of typology, actively bad understanding of typology, and are trying to impose this actively bad understanding of typology as a standard are incredibly annoying because they both spread disinformation and just they make the whole thing a big muddy mess. But I would like to believe that over time, my way of understanding it will become predominant, you know?
Yeah.
It's one of those things where if you don't know everything about this, you know nothing about this. It's kind of true. Tiny Man 66 is another great quotable. We had a great quotable earlier from Octavio Silva, who said, any polar thinks questions are there to be answered, not expanded on.
That is such a great quote.
It's a great quote.
Yeah, it really is.
There's another great quote right there. It's one of those things, if you don't know everything about this, you know nothing about this. It does take, it's got a steep learning curve for sure.
Winston's mom, are you still like into like astrology and stuff? I found this, I think you might know the channel too. It's like this chick who talks about what your dominants are for astrology, and yeah, I found it pretty interesting, and definitely like I resonated with some of the traits. So yeah, sorry I don't know her name, but you could just like look up like Jupiter dominant or Mercury dominant, and then like it'll be like up there right away.
Or you could
Mishi.
look up Liza Minnelli turns on the lamp. That's worth watching as well.
Yeah. And you can definitely, try it. She'll explain things because I know you're into Vedic astrology too, so it will. It's very, very interesting. I think she's a little biased in her speaking, not going to lie, but it's still very interesting. And yes, Liza Minnelli tries to turn off a lamp is very funny. That's definitely should be.
If you just put in the YouTube search, Liza Minnelli turns off a lamp, and you haven't seen it, it's hilarious. It's this lady, I guess, on Saturday Night Live who does a lot of impressions.
Kristen Wiig.
Yeah, Kristen Wiig, and she does some good impressions.
Mm-hmm.
What's your preference, Rachel? Vedic or Western?
I prefer Vedic. I used to like Western better, but I think that Vedic is more accurate. At least in compatibility. I don't know.
I'm really enamored with the idea that somebody should make a combination dancing style that's a combination between tap dancing, ballet dancing, and break dancing.
I like that.
Combines all three elements. How could you do that? Can you come up with one move that combines all of those elements? Tap, break, and what's the third one again? Ballet. So, okay, that means you've got to stand on one toe, do the worm upright, while tapping with your other foot out a rhythm concurrent with the beat.
Wow. I think we should get Tekashi 69 to try that one for us.
Tekashi 69?
Yeah.
Who is that?
He's like some rapper.
Oh, that guy? Okay. Yeah. It's true. But we could get the ISFP we typed last night to try it.
He would be able to, I think.
He's a dancer
in
college.
He would figure it out. Yeah, I think he would actually be able to figure it out. INTJ. Oh no, honey. He's not INTJ. He may think he's INTJ. The guy is ESFP 100%. He has Skittles as his teeth.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Horseman,
I didn't get it.
I'm not necessarily disputing your position on voting, actually. Believe it or not. Not the gun part, but but the idea that maybe voting is not a right. In fact, it's certainly not treated exactly like a right. It's not treated as a fundamental right because convicts of a certain kind can't vote anymore. But what I would say is that if we were to think of it as a right, we need to treat it, therefore, as a right and not as some sort of duty. That it is not the case that it's a good thing necessarily for people to vote. That in a lot of cases, if you don't feel like you're particularly well informed or have a lot of good, strong reasons to vote one way or the other, then probably you shouldn't vote. And if your reasons aren't good, then no matter how strong they are, you probably shouldn't vote.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
Yeah, it is.
Certainly, it's the case that there's no virtue in going around and bragging that you voted. And I think
stickers all over the place.
I think it's unfortunate that that's what the world's come to because it's as though like, hey, look, I'm participating in democracy.
I've never seen so many celebrities like show off that they're voting ever before.
I mean, horizontal, I'm not making that claim, just to be clear. I'm not saying that voting ought to be treated as a privilege that for which one has to qualify. I'm not making that position, but I am saying that from an individual's perspective and for as far as public discourse goes, we should stop talking about voting as though you're doing something good when you're voting.
Well, it is a privilege that we have to vote, but like the system is so screwed up.
But they're specifically saying, should we treat it as a right or a privilege? Like, for example, driving is a privilege.
Yeah, it is. You can get that taken away from you.
You can get that taken away from you. Now, technically, by that standard, then voting is a privilege as well. You can get that taken away from you. But then life's a privilege as well because you can get that taken away from you by legal means as well. So that's not the standard we should use to distinguish privilege versus right then. So,
well, women weren't able to vote until what, like 1908 or something. So that's kind of like a.
Well, that doesn't mean necessarily that it's either a privilege or a right. It just means that it was treated as a privilege before.
Okay. Yeah, I just didn't understand. Like, I needed to like make the connection between the two.
Right. I mean, it's obviously it's a limited right, like most rights, in the sense that you have the right to buy to engage in normal commerce including buying stuff, right?
Yeah.
But you can't buy alcohol until you're 21, so it's limited in some regard. You have the right to own a gun and buy a gun, but you don't have the right to buy a bazooka necessarily. Like,
yeah,
there are limits to what you can buy, and people would argue whether or not that's good. I'm not making really statements about that, but the point is, voting to the extent that we want to consider voting a right, then it's a right like that. You might argue, hey, it's good to own a gun, but I don't think you'd argue that it's good for everyone to own a gun, right? Like, I
feel like
voting is like that. Voting is like owning a gun. You know, is it a right to own a gun in the United States? Yes. The Supreme Court has indicated that the individual has a constitutional right to own a handgun. Does that mean that we should promote gun ownership? I don't think so.
No,
I'm not saying we should necessarily anti-promote it or whatever that is, you know, whatever the word I'm looking for is. I'm just saying that there's no reason to conclude that there's no reason to conclude that because you have the right to do something, that it's a good thing to do to exercise that right.
So, Barker Farker, I didn't choose to life. I chose not to die. What? So are you like basically just like moving through life?
I think what she's saying is that you have no choice about whether you live, but you do have a like whether you
Choice
be
not to
made to
die.
lie,
Yeah.
made to be alive, but you do have a choice about whether you
Gotcha.
stay alive.
Gotcha.
In my experience and in theory, ENTP thinks ISFP is morally self-righteous and annoying. I've not found them morally self-righteous and annoying. I've found them uninteresting, ultimately.
I just don't get along.
I found that I don't have any common ground with them to talk about. Like, whenever we talk about something, we talk about it from a different angle.
Yeah.
And we're always talking past each other, and we don't have any common interests usually. That's my experience with ISFPs in the past.
Talking past each other would make sense for conflicting relations. I mean, that's how your dad and I talk.
I mean, the thing is, my experience is mostly with, I'm talking about, I guess, like dating ISFP women.
Yeah.
I'm not talking exactly about dealing with, like, Octavia Silva and I get along great, sure. But, we also don't really, it could be the case that Octavia Silva was like, let's hang out and chat. And I would be like, yeah, that sounds fun. And we'd sit around and chat. It could be the case that we would do that, but
no,
I don't think either of us feel any particular inclination towards that,
like,
right?
Even when you guys are talking, it's strictly business, and that's all it's going to be. Like, it's so quick.
Our inclinations, both of our inclinations, are utilitarian with each other, which is the same way it was when I dated an ISFP. It's like there was a specific utilitarian purpose for it, right?
Aww. My dad lost a lot of weight. Want to see a picture?
Oh, sure. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, looks good.
What a lovely dog.
Thank you.
I love that
still
dog,
my
right?
niecey.
I love
No
that
matter
dog,
what
right? It's
happens
my
to
heart
her.
immediately.
Oh, I'm so glad. Her name's Shelby.
You also want some independence aside that. I want a person that truly lives. So what are you saying? I'm not sure what you're saying, Razor. Are you trying to figure out what type is right for you to date? What type are you? What do you mean by a free person? Oh, I'm curious. We got along fine, Margaret. If you were to start a political party in the USA, surely Congress wouldn't allow it. I don't think that's the case. I think it would have trouble gaining traction because, in general, people's conception of politics is pretty simplistic. It's pretty left and right. And the left and the right are occupied, respectively, by the Democrats and the Republicans. So the third party has a challenge of juxtaposing against that dichotomy. There's several ways to do so. One is to juxtapose as a party that's a better version of one of them, right? To be like a better conservatives, like the new Republican Party or something, that tries to overtake, co-opt, and eventually become the new version of an existing thing. That's one way to do it. Or you could try to be issue specific, like the Green Party, right? Well, this is a party whose priorities are all environmental, and they're going to broadly align with the left, but we know their agenda is a specific issue. That's the problem with multi-party systems, is single issue parties who will get representatives elected that you only really know their issue on one particular thing. The thing is, yeah, I don't like multi-party systems. I don't think it's a good idea. I think the existing system is fine. A third party is a good idea if and when it projects itself as the right thing. And the right thing to project itself as is agenda free. So it's like the agenda free party. But what I'm advocating for myself and for the country is an agenda free approach. It's frankly a very TE approach to the thing, but underneath a TI justice-based frame. So it's that the reality of it, the complication of it is that explaining what it means to be agenda free and yet still principled is a complicated and tangled road to explain. Which is to say, there is an underlying contradiction there. Is it really possible to be fully principled and also pragmatic in your overarching approach? And the answer is yes, but only by the right person, which is not a very satisfying answer for a lot of reasons. It's basically the philosopher king. So, at host Eric, your views are increasing. No more fun in convos, but definitely staying on message. I feel left out now, but good luck on building the channel. I'm sorry you feel left out, you mad bro. I appreciate you saying that though. That's fantastic to hear. I agree that things seem to be picking up. It's really gratifying to have more people participating in the chats. I'm regularly hit over 30 now, it seems like.
Yeah.
And that's definitely up by at least 10, I would say.
I'm so glad you noticed.
How do I get along with ISFJs? I generally get along with them very well. They, I don't have many of them active in my life at this point. I got along generally well with my mother until, she started getting very pre-dementia time. She started getting very opposed to any kind of newness or change. She ceased to find me funny, I guess.
It's so funny that who asked that? Danny C? I was asking Eric the same thing last night because at least for me, will ESTPs, like, I can, like, they approach me and I always know the trouble. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel lucky for that because I don't think that every ESTP is trouble. I just, like, was very guarded with my heart. So, like, I'm happy that I didn't really have many ESTP relationships, but, like, I don't think the dual works for everyone. But, like with Delilah, we get along great, and it's a different sex and generation.
I mean, here's the thing. I think ISFJs are perfect companion type for ENTP, but not relationship partner. And the reason is you need more, at least for me, maybe because we're sevens, it might have something to do with it as well, that I need more same pageness than I'm going to get with an ISFJ. Yeah. I need less cooperative compromise, which is ISFJ and ENTP, and more cooperative not having to compromise at all. Like just being on the same page. There's no cooperation at all, right? It's like we both really don't want to have to deal with that shit. It makes whatever it is.
Right. And it makes for really good friendships too, because you're not hitting those points.
Right. It doesn't matter if it's a friend. Right. Or, with my mom, of course, yes. I did eventually hit the point when I was a teenager where I started having conflict with her natural cautiousness and my natural uncautiousness. But I just think that the problem with relationship partner is, for me anyway, I want my relationship to be first and foremost two people on the same page. Rachel looks very ENFP-ish. I mean, the thing is,
I don't even know what ENFPs look like. I study people to find out.
the funny thing is, Maxie Kemp is, you know, by most any conventional standard, she definitely has beta quadra eyes, you know. Tiny Man 6'6", Rachel looks like a Effie heavy INFJ. Well, I think she looks like what she is then.
I am.
I long thought Rachel was ENFP, but this changed. I mean, the thing is, if you were to think that Rachel were ENFP, you'd have to account for the fact that even when we're sitting right next to each other, I say so much more than she does. You know?
I don't mind it either because I find myself like right now kind of searching for words when I speak because a lot of times when I'm speaking, it's from my SI, my eighth spot, you know, it just comes out when I'm comfortable. But I really do like listening to people, and especially Eric, because he has a lot of knowledge on MBTI and politics, and that's something that I don't have a lot of knowledge on, or have minimal.
Do you remember, Rachel, what I was musing about that caused us to think about that sand meme?
Oh, God. Yeah, I could get to it. God, I don't know.
I don't know either. I know what it was. I remember. Okay, so there's this meme that says ENTP, and he's sitting at his desk at work, and he's just sitting there thinking, I wonder if sand is called sand because it's between the sea and the land. Okay, this is the reality of an ENTP. That's what they spend all their time thinking about in their head when they're not talking to you. So after I put up this post in the community tab, a link to a song and saying it's pretty mind-blowing, I said to myself, I wonder what that's called, if there's a term for that, because there's terms for everything around that. So like you might say hyperbole is, you know, say you're starving when you're just hungry. A redundancy would be to say like it's very unique, because unique means one of a kind. It can't be qualified by very, right? So that'd be a redundancy. A oxymoron would be something like low calorie lard.
That's funny.
Low calorie lard would be an oxymoron. But what happens when you take something that shouldn't be, what's the term for when you have something that shouldn't be qualified that you're choosing to qualify? So like mind-blowing shouldn't really be qualified because if it's qualified, then it's not really mind-blowing, you know. Octavia Silva says her ISTJ friend thinks exactly like that. The difference is it's something he pulls out and shows you occasionally, probably, and he definitely can't do it on command, and definitely doesn't do it all the time, right?
Only when comfortable.
When comfortable, relaxed, and feeling like indulging himself, he'll engage in NE, but he's definitely not thinking like that constantly, like I am,
SI.
you know.
I see so much SI when talking to Cameron. It's nice. Like it makes for really nice, fun conversation, because sometimes I learn about like, you know, adventures that you guys have gone through and what.
Okay, well then Octavia Silva, I guess what he did is he turned off his personality and turned on an ISTJ personality during the typing then. And I don't know. I mean, how have your conversations? I don't have a lot of faith in your ability to recognize extroverted intuition.
Just like
So I don't know.
You with FI.
Yeah, maybe the equivalence thing that you're drawing here is not actually equivalent. Maybe what he's saying is not equivalent to what I'm saying at all. But anyway, so those are the kind of things that I'm thinking about continually.
Legends Fall, ENFP test. Do you think it's a good idea to remake a movie with puppets replacing the two main characters? An ENFP would say yes. I say no.
That's a good question.
Mm-hmm. ENFP would say yes, and they
and it's a terrible idea.
It is.
Okay, so Email Anthrax agrees with me about that guy.
Yeah, they do say yes.
Cool. So some, it's like, this is what I get,
You tested it. Cool.
Okay, all right. Octavia Silva, my bad. I don't think it's the case fundamentally. If it is the case fundamentally that your friend's going around thinking about extroverted intuition stuff all the time, then he's probably 1-2 extroverted intuition. But I just didn't see any of that in the testing, right? I know, Emailed Anthrax. I know.
Defeat Moloch. ENFPs are autistic gem workers. I like gems, so I can't say anything about that, and I don't think they're autistic.
I mean, the thing is, demonstrating NE is something that INTPs and ENTPs can do pretty much equally well, or INFPs as well. You watch. I remember when Kyra was around and more active. She had originally had me convinced she was an ENTP just based on her chatting, because she was so actively making weird NE jokes all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wrong. She was an INFP. So it just goes to show you they can be quite similar looking in terms of NE. Yeah. If you there's this ENFP called Sauce who used to be around here. And if I know Email Anthrax. And if you just got him and me riffing off of each other and joking, it was very difficult to tell any difference. We were very similar in our affect, in our amount of ideation, in our sort of humor directions, lots of stuff. But as soon as you start asking some stuff, get into TI issues, it was abundantly obvious that we were on exactly the opposite page. So it's it is really possible to pretty well isolate NE if you pair it with FE, and any FE 6 slot from an ENFP and any FE 3rd slot from an ENTP can look rather equivalent if the ENFP is good at it. How do you NI? Well, when Eric asked that guy, "Are you afraid of no ghosts?" I immediately started singing Ghostbusters.
Yes.
Right.
I'm afraid of no ghosts.
That's funny. I forgot.
That is funny. That. Running fox. Guys, where'd it come from? It's cold.
I'll try to get it if I see it.
Should I answer the credit card people?
I don't want to deal with it right this second.
Cool. I don't want to answer it either. There's nothing wrong.
I'll call them back later.
I've just been paying the wrong credit card.
TE problems. Rachel, they changed the location of something on her app, and she ended up paying something to a card that
is all paid off already. Yeah.
So she's getting like plus money on one card, and she's not paying the other card. And that kind of thing. I see NE in you, Barger Farger, whether it's fifth or second. I've always said I thought you were an INTP, Barger Farger. I still stand by that basic typing of you.
And Hutchinson.
This is the thing. People who want to type themselves as or type somebody as INFJ or INTP or even potentially INTJ you're gonna get or possibly ENTP even, you're gonna get pushback. Everyone's gonna be like, no, no, no. But if you type somebody as a sensor, you don't get any pushback. It's weird, right? I never get that this ISTP that you typed, Eric, is actually an INFJ. I always get this INFJ you typed is actually a meow or a meow or a meow. Or just that he's not an INFJ because he's meow. It isn't that great of an inky pinky because the resulting phrase. So right, inky pinky is a good way to test any. I don't remember if I did inky pinky with your friend or not, Octavio. I did it with this ISFP last night. Hopefully he'll let me publish it.
Running Fox, I feel you. Inky Pinky is hard and I don't like it.
The definition of NI. Inkity.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not good at it either. I don't hate it, but I'm not. I can say that the lower level ones, like the Mountain Fountain, I can get, but when you come up with new ones, I'm like totally lost.
I'm trying to solve this one right here. Yeah. Inkity pinkity, huh? 3-3. That's a tough one. Definition of NI, inkity pinkity. Okay. I don't know. I can't sit here and think about it on the live stream too much. That's the problem with trying to do inkity pinkities on the live stream, is that I will just sit here and think about it until I come up with the answer. What's an inky pinky? Here's the example I always give. You get a clue such as a hilltop water spout, and the answer is going to be an inky pinky, and the answer is mountain fountain. No, I do not have an OnlyFans.
Oh.
Nobody wants to see me naked. If I were a 22-year-old girl, maybe I'd have an OnlyFans. I would be like, hey, this is an easy way to make money. But then people would probably think I was slutty or something. I don't know. I'd probably get slut shamed.
You might.
I wouldn't want to get slut shamed, probably.
I wouldn't want you to get slut shamed either, babe. Oh, can I kiss your cheek for physical? Oh.
An example of an inky pinky is like the one I just gave, where the clue will be something like hilltop water spout, and you'll be told it's an inky pinky, which means it's 2 syllables, 2 syllables. It's going to sound like inky pinky, and the answer is mountain fountain. A different example, you mean? Okay, so roadway flesh. It's an ink pink, 1 syllable each. I'm like, yo, chill, ladies. Hi, utter self. Peak Creek. That's an answer. That's not a clue. I don't know the Little Green Village riddle. It's just, it's whatever you want. Like you could say I thought I heard it. Inky pinkety means a messy old car Inky Pinkety. Oh, Peak Creek. It's the ink pink for Hilltop Waterspout. Peak Creek would well, then you'd probably say, waterway instead of waterspout. But yeah, it's a good answer. You're right. But you can also have inky pinkety, like sloppy jalopy, right? Is the answer to that messy old car. The answer to the NI was concision precision, just in case you didn't see it. Okay, but there's nothing in there that has definition. It should have been like exacting NI would be a better clue. You know what I'm saying, dog? Oh, you know what I'm saying, dog? Do you know what I'm saying, dog? Do you know what I'm saying, dog? She was?
Yeah.
Oh. Did you let her out?
Yeah, she's here right now.
Nobody got better than 37% on the chimp test, huh?
Thank you for waiting.
AIM trainer got 0%. I'm so shitty at the AIM thing. Why am I so shitty at it? Huh, interesting. So who did best on reaction time? ENFP? I don't see any patterns that link to anything specifically here, really. But if we had more data, maybe we would find some patterns there. It's hard to say.
Mm-hmm.
Razor M says, let's see, I tested for IQ 4 years ago. I got 92. Now it says I got 135. What does it mean? It totally depends on the IQ test you take. So I took the Mensa IQ test yesterday. I got 107. And the reason is because it tests like Winston's mom would definitely kill it on the Mensa's test. Winston's mom, are you here? She'd probably kill it on the Mensa test. It is a textbook test for INTJ. INFJ might do better than me on it. I'm not sure. It would be interesting to have Rachel take the test, see what she gets on it.
Okay.
But I think it's basically an INTJ test. So it really depends on what the test prioritizes. If an IQ test prioritizes visual pattern recognition, then it's going to play out as one kind of testing. If it tests verbal reasoning skills, then it's another kind of IQ. A test that tests just verbal reasoning skills, I'll typically do extremely well on. A test that includes, questions like the hats question, right? It's a test that I'm going to do much better on than a test like the one that, like when I see those problems, I just go like, ugh. And when I look at it to begin with, like, oh, I got to figure out this kind of boring ass. I hate this shit, Mm-hmm. Whereas when I see the hats problem, I think, oh, cool, this will be fun. Your IQ is 420. I mean, the first time I took that,
is this P or?
Yeah, that's gotta be P.
Okay. He pooped on your dad's deck.
Uh-oh.
Yep.
Pete's gonna get in trouble. He pooped on Dad's deck.
Yeah, he did.
Okay, I'm gonna wrap this up. Thank you all for being here. I hope you got here in time so you didn't miss all the urgent excitement that we attended to throughout the stream. I already gave him some, but just give him a little bit. Just give him a handful, like less than a handful. This peacock. So he is so depends on the test. It really does. That's a very entitled peacock. All right, thanks very much for being here. Don't forget to eat plenty of cheese.